Okay, we're alive. Hi.
Hi.
No.
It is time to man mode.
Yeah. Okay, so let's actually show what we've got. Uh, Loading times are a bit annoying, but we've got we right now can recolor entire layers and change the hue, saturation, and the value. It is alpha 2, not that useful. But the thing with it is, as you can see, you can do pretty compelling environments without new tiles. So it looks like hell or whatever, and or like I don't know, maybe not hell, but like volcanic planet of some sort, and it has pretty much no new tiles.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is obviously the units, where we're going to need a global light or something. But
Yeah,
the terrain itself can be tells quite a interesting story. Certainly, some tweaks are over here and there, but uh,
yeah, like
for the
maybe
tiles that we had
maybe
on
not
there, it's
necessary
quite the
use snow.
market. Yeah, it's quite the market transformation, though.
Yeah. For the units, I would just make them probably darker or something. But yeah,
Yeah, I
there's
think
no
you would just have
something about it.
to. You'd basically need to. So the same hue, like the transformations and edits that you're applying to the base layer, would probably be applied to the units, maybe, because that would be your general light. Maybe I'm not sure though. That's like what
Yeah, I don't
makes
know.
me what I'm thinking anyway. But it's really cool that you can change that like literally in mid game, obviously.
Yeah, as you can see, even the minimap changes. I don't know if that's visible on the stream, but now it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's pretty good to have it
and it
changing like that.
also is very interesting if you're combining the same layer
Yep.
multiple times because now you can basically,
You can have like bright dirt on,
yeah, like you
everything.
can reuse the same tile and it looks completely different because it's colored a different way. Like if I
Yep.
would lower this is basically not visible. But I
Yeah, if you
can
set it
like
to the same value. Yeah.
I can
You
like
could
make
even use that to
this.
make a
I don't know.
mostly invisible, like mostly completely blended texture that just happens to have like little patterns and stuff that still show
Yeah, I
through.
do feel like, for example, this grass is not very, it's not standing out, but it's really complementing the other stuff because
Yeah.
it's a different texture, but it's not
Yeah, it's almost like a
necessarily.
just a ground texture or something. Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
cool. What's up, Kian?
Oh, so yeah, it does feel like we are closer to a playable game.
Certainly closer to a usable editor.
Yeah.
Once we're done with all of our definition reworks, we'll be presumably moving on to cliffs and stuff. So
Yeah, when we do like orders, pathfinding, and cliffs, and AI, then we could actually play a game. Uh,
yeah, we just need to fix up networking, obviously, but if we wanted to play it in multiplayer. But
yes.
yeah, to even have this much progress towards a single player experience is
Yeah, remember when I told you we would do more in 3 months than Blizzard did in 3 months? And also with only one programmer?
well, Blizzard only had one programmer for their entire engine, but it wasn't exactly a good 3 months, was it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think we are. How much are we in? Like 1.5 months or
It's
something?
1.5, yeah. So.
Yeah, and we have like multiplayer. We have fucking uh
All of the editor stuff.
environments. Like
Yeah.
we have unlimited unit selection. In-game editor, which is usable
Yeah,
in
the
multiplayer.
fact that the in-game editor works in multiplayer, as you discovered in fucking the other stream, like a couple streams ago.
Yeah, it was always meant to work like that, but
Yeah.
I had some
I'm
issues.
just saying the fact that it does means that this is already more feature complete than most games, and it's not even done. So
Yeah.
look, you're scouting.
Yeah.
Look, you're dying.
Let's actually test the thing you wanted.
Imagine having a better RTS engine with real-time editing and multiplayer editing. You already have the best RTS title released in the last 25 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, you've already beat every RTS title. Yeah, that is true. So we were going back and forth, Vic and I, over the idea of Fog of War revealing units as well as buildings, because I can't find I haven't been able to hear a real like solid argument as to why we should not reveal units. I don't actually know if it's possible for you to reveal a unit and then run away, because I think everything has the. Oh, I see what you're gonna do. Yeah, I think that's totally fine as long as you draw something around. Basically, my thought is, we have the idea of revealing units like what Veek's just done in this demonstration, and that would allow you to sort of see, like, just like you revealed a building, you could reveal a unit. Now, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Veek, but your main counter argument here was that it would be confusing because when you reveal a building, there's an assumption of permanence, and when you reveal a unit, there's the assumption of the opposite, where the unit's going to move. My obvious counter to that is that more buildings are going to be mobile than not in the late game in some way, shape, or form. So that doesn't even hold true for buildings, and certainly doesn't hold true for even the early game once we get the Thruk in and some other regencies and stuff. So, I don't know what the like. Maybe there's a solution to the fact that right now it's just a gimmick that only applies to buildings in the RTS convention. That doesn't involve revealing units, but I don't think it's just about position. I think it's also about gameplay info and stuff. Which would be like, we should, sort of like how in Brood War you reveal the animation state and the fire, the quantity, like how much damage overlay is present.
Wish I could make them do something so I can actually show them disappearing, but like I really can't do it. But yeah, if they move, they wouldn't be tracked right now.
Yeah. So you would only see their last known position, and then if you scouted the same unit again, it would remove. If you saw the same unit again, it would be removed from the previous position that it was in. Currently, the implementation that Veek has also removes them when they die, but obviously we wouldn't want that. We would want it to be like Brood War, where
it's just a flaw in the thing.
You basically just walk over.
You could actually see them walking if you use this Bryland unit.
Yes, yeah. If you use the dispute,
this thing,
it would be pretty epic. Yeah, I don't know how many people who are in the chat have been keeping up with all of the unit concepts that I've been adding, but let's just say we're looking pretty good. We got. I totaled out the number of units. You guys will never believe how many units we have on the NCFI tech tree. You guys won't believe it because it's a simulation. First of all, we have 42 units. Simulation. But there's another lesser known simulation number. Sort of like how there's 3 and 5 and then there's 7. 7 is like the lesser known simulation. 3 is obviously the most. And then 5 is like somewhere in the middle. 42 and 69 are both simulation numbers. But the one in between is 27, which is the difference between 42 and 69. And it's also the number of buildings we have, which means we have 69 units on the NCFI tech map, which is a simulation.
Yes.
So, there you go.
I wish we had actual training orders. Okay.
Yeah, you
So
guys
today
got
I
some nice
will
fucking
continue
quantities of these.
doing serialization, which is something I started last time.
Fuck yeah.
I guess for organization's sake, I actually wanted to have like a to-do list.
Yeah, I've been using the Wicked Pad scratch pad shit for my to-do list, but whatever you end up using would be probably pretty useful.
Just a plain text file. Okay, so I had some stuff noted down here. Okay.
There should be some way to automatically spit out all things you've marked as at to do and put it into the to-do list. But of course, that would be a feature, and we can't have that in software.
Well, it doesn't even work. Because you cannot use the fucking odd sign with it.
Oh,
The fucking thing. So it's not really useful. Okay. So let's see UI. Terrain. I'd also like the players menu, which is like customize polls, traces, AI settings, etc. I guess selection would be its own thing. Yeah, okay. I guess this is enough for now. But I wanted to note some things down, so yeah, that's useful.
Hell yeah.
I will go to the save thing, and I will... Oh, save game from text. I don't know about that one. Yeah, so unit card placeholders were stuff we wanted in Brood War. So obviously we will do it here. Attack ready zone, yeah, probably. Attack path drawing. I don't know about drawing part, but I imagine you would be able to choose weapons and like have multiple paths.
I was thinking basically that when it comes to handling AI stuff, which is what I assume Kian was mentioning there.
Yeah.
I think the AI would basically there would be some sort of auto generation, where there would be some defaults, right?
Yeah.
And so this would be the same for like deciding, like defaulting building placements and stuff. And basically, you'd be able to either design your own completely for everything, be it attack vectors or building placements or whatever, or you'd take the defaults and just edit them. So that was my idea anyway. I don't know what you think about that, if that's even feasible. But basically, my thought was you'd have, you'd basically have the opportunity to say, here's the defaults, here's what the AI thinks based on your map, which would probably be good for like sanity checking, like if you broke some piece of terrain somewhere or a collision and you didn't realize it, might be useful. But my thinking was you'd basically have that, and then you would be able to manipulate those and say like, okay, and correct some defaults that are or optimize some defaults basically or whatever. I don't know if that makes sense, but that would be my ideal initially.
Yeah, I do remember we were talking about it, and I do remember agreeing with that, or even saying it at the first place. But
Yeah.
I do think that so like so in Brood War, for example, the town hall markers were like auto generated, and they were
Yep.
always bad, and you
Yeah.
had no ability of adjusting them. So I was thinking that you would place them manually, but the default would be to auto-gen them, auto-replace them, basically.
Yes.
Which would
they
be
would be automatically
useful,
generated, and then you could manipulate them, which is basically like the it's basically like the AI opponent, the computer opponent code version of having automatic pathfinding or collision or whatever, like predefined collision that you then modify if you need to optimize it for a certain area, which is what we were talking about for like painting collision and height manually or something.
Yeah. So I do imagine most of it would be auto-generated, because then it's still a convenience that you have, but if you want to customize it, you obviously can, which is useful.
Oh shit, he's multi-viewing. Kane's got good ship post ideas.
Haha. Yeah, I feel like that would be worse than brainfuck, but would be also way
Probably
funnier.
could. I'll do a couple more concepts for the Psychora before I move on to the unit's definition.
Yeah, sure. It was really funny how they proclaimed that they're like an elitist fucking community. That really got me. I don't know what they are thinking, but
Yeah, I don't know. I can only imagine.
Oh, my cursor is no longer visible. What the fuck?
Bye.
Ah,
It looks like it's visible on stream.
not the text cursor though.
Oh, that one. Yeah, bye. I'm glad I just looked at the top and saw crow.png, crow.psd. What's up, a 3 Lethal man? I've decided that the Psychora are, I think I was telling you earlier about this week, but this is a sneak peek to my big reveal on stream tomorrow when I show off my progress. The
Yeah.
Psychora are going to have, so they're going to have tiered production structures where you upgrade them to get access to higher tier stuff.
Yeah.
This means that you're going to need to build a tier 1 production facility to eventually upgrade it to a tier 9 or whatever the final one is. The bulk of what that means, right, is basically that means that their base structures need to be really cheap in terms of time, even if they're not massively cheap in terms of resources, because like, okay, there's a couple of different things that I can do, but this introduces a problem where if it's not easy to make a lot of production facilities, and each production facility is not like really readily able to spam out a bunch of stuff maybe, then you're in a situation where it's really hard for them to like scale their production over time the deeper their tech tree goes. It's like adding more and more of a cost. So while their production facilities right now are more expensive, even for the base one, than some of the other production facilities out there, just as a little teaser, the time cost of their version of what you could consider a version of a barracks. That's not really the same thing, but imagine like a barracks or a gateway in Brood War. Their time cost is just it's about the same as the cost of training a maverick from a barracks. It's like very quick. So
Yeah, interesting.
you'll basically, if you have the money, you'll be able to spam quite a bit of this stuff. And also, when we were talking about this earlier off stream, Veek, we came to the conclusion that when you spend money, so people who haven't played Armies of Exego won't know this, but in that game, they had an improvement over the UI of Brood War, where when you could select a building that had been queued. So say I place a building in games like Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2, you'll see like an outline of the building, but you won't actually be able to select it. In Armies of Exego, you could select that outline, add it to a control group, give it a rally point, and that was the extent of what you could do, but that felt very natural. What we want to do is go a step further and allow you to issue any order, which means you can start queuing up units on a building that's not even started construction yet. And also means you can queue an upgrade. So I can put down a tier 1 production facility, and then if I have the money after deducting it for the cost of the tier 1 production facility, I can also queue an upgrade into the next one, which will immediately start progressing after the structure has been finished. So that kind of like ease of being able to queue that kind of stuff is pretty important. I don't know how fractal it'll get, how deep you'll be able to queue. I think it'll just be 1, but that still is going to be a way easier thing to deal with than obviously the alternative. So yeah, it should be pretty slick. I think. And hope you're not feeling too sick now, homie. Yeah, I think it would be kind of annoying to have to scale your production facilities manually. Because when you're spending the APM to build the structure in the first place, spending like one click and a hotkey press to click on the structure and then queue the upgrade is really not that much extra time at all, or even like mental overhead. But if you have to, like, if you can't even click on it to issue it a rally point or something, and then on top of it, you can't click on it to queue the structure, you have to wait for it to start being produced or to finish being produced. That means you have to go back to it. You know what I mean? So you don't always necessarily want to have to do that. I think people will get they'll start to develop really quick mechanically when it comes to our UI. I think our UI is going to be pretty it's going to allow for a lot of skill testing stuff. IMO. Part of me does want to be able to basically when you queue an upgrade to a unit or to a structure rather, like say I've selected the like in the modern terms, in Brood War terms, say I've selected a hatchery. Like part of me wants to say that when you've queued the upgrade, the command card should change to whatever that command card of that upgraded structure would be, so you can queue more stuff. So in that case, it would be like taking a drone, issuing it, queuing a hatchery with the drone, right? And then selecting the hatchery, and then clicking the layer upgrade icon, and then being able to see the hive upgrade icon and clicking that. And then if you're in Cosmonarchy Brood War, it's Droleth instead of drone, and you can go all the way up to sire. That might actually be pretty intuitive. Because I was thinking of limiting it to one upgrade. But that way you can literally queue up to tier 9 if you want to with this system or whatever. I'm saying tier 9 because I'm assuming it's going to be like every odd tier is a new structure, but I'm not 100% sure.
I really like the idea of having uh like repeating rules about like, oh yeah, every second tier does something, so like they get it with odd and even tiers. I think that will be really cool in terms of gameplay, because then you know, oh, I can go one tier to unlock this, but if I go two, I can continue doing what I'm doing or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, so basically the idea behind the NC fee is that they don't get like new production facilities until they pass through a tier. The other thing though is that like when you upgrade a production facility, the closest thing that you ever got to that in Cosmonarchy was back when we had the Protoss upgrades, where the building morphs went from like gateway into principality or whatever. And besides changing a couple of unit availabilities, you didn't have completely like you didn't remove the entire thing. In this case, when you upgrade your tier 1 they don't really have they don't have infantry branch as a branch, but say you're up the closest thing to that. You take your tier 1 infantry building and you upgrade that into a tier 3 infantry building. You don't have any of the tier 1 infantry available anymore, or tier 2. So all you get is tier 3 and 4. So with every upgrade, you completely change availability. And that might end up being a bit weird. So maybe that model would have to change a bit in that sense, where going from tier 1 to 3 gives you access to tier 2, 3, and 4 or something. So you get access to the previous tier and the next tier as well as the current one. I'm not sure though. It'll depend on how many units are actually being trained by each structure. So we'll have to wait and see. But I also kind of like the idea that when I upgrade a structure, I get completely different units entirely. And being able to instantly see what units I'm going to get access to because I've queued an upgrade is pretty cool. That way I actually can queue the upgrade and then queue some of these higher tier units if I want to. But also just like mouse over them or whatever while it's happening. The trouble for the Psychora is going to be that they can't unupgrade their structure, which is fine actually, but it's kind of funny. Yeah, you can cancel it before it's done, but if it's already there, you can't like go back. Which is just as well because it's not like it's very expensive in terms of time to order a worker to build a new one, right? So I also don't think you'll ever be in a position where you want to downgrade unless you just don't have the money to spend on higher tier units. That is a crucial point for why you might not want to. Well, in this case, they're actually I kind of misspoke on that anyway because they build structures from their town centers. It's one of those weirder regencies. I haven't decided if there's going to be a limit on that. Like the Katithrons have the idea that they warp in both units and structures at specific targets. Like they basically warp directly to their rally point. But the farther away it is from the source unit / structure, the longer the build time is. But there's no such planned limitation for the Psychora. Which means if you can just build without any like if there's not a sort of build aura zone or something. There might be some sort of like manipulation field that the workers provide that or maybe some units in general provide. Though it doesn't have to just be workers. But maybe there would have to be some sort of like interference field that allows their structures to begin warping. But I don't know. I'll have to think about that a bit more. For now, I'll just assume that there's no limitations because it's a bit easier to design around that, but we'll see if that changes.
Yeah, since I'm actually showing the editor right now.
Owned.
Yeah, interrupted in a perfect moment. In the perfect moment. Okay, so since I'm showing the editor, you can actually see where we've gone with the color adjustments. We basically did HSV, uh, which allows to like, you can adjust the hue, which is like the color or whatever. You can adjust the saturation, which is how much color you want. And you can adjust the value, which is basically how intense the color is. And also alpha isn't as useful, but could be. And yeah, with that alone, you can actually craft very promising environments without even having to have new tiles. But like you can see,
I think being able to modify the um, those values for selected cells would be pretty useful, or just like a selected region. I guess you wouldn't want it to be limited to terrain cells. But if you could modify it on like a literally per pixel basis, that would be optimal. Especially for alpha, being able to tweak alpha settings.
yeah. So the
I could just
problem
have
with
a
that
tiny
is that
pad.
if you do it per tile, you just see a physical rectangle.
Yeah, there
So
would be a
you'd have
scene.
to
That's why I
have
said it would have to be per pixel. But that's the thing. That's always what I
yeah.
wanted anyway. Is the idea of being able to alpha out just like small bits. And I feel like maybe that would be pretty demanding when you're rendering all of it, but when you're finishing, like when you're exiting editor mode, it would probably bake it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I am not sure. That would be a tough one, but the easiest thing right now to do is just to add another layer above it and make it a slightly different color.
Yeah, it's not a very scalable solution though.
It's like, I don't know, something like this. Oh, I think...
Yeah, I can see what you mean. I'm just saying that it
Yeah, I
would
know, it's
probably
not
be
as powerful
that
as you would
it doesn't
probably
let
like it,
you be
but...
very precise. Was the one thing that's definitely a bit of an issue. Because I would just want to like let a little bit of mud bleed through on this grass, but only in like a circle, like or an oval or something. But this is obviously still way better than what we had
Yeah.
before and what any other what Brood War ever had. But it's still something where it would be really nice to have even further control.
Yeah, I do agree, but... Well, we'll see how feasible it is. I guess... I don't know. Because you would want, like... You would want to be able to, like, fix, minor stuff. So yeah, I will think about it. Maybe just changing the ordering would be enough. But that's kinda... Making it per tile would kinda be demanding too. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, per tile wouldn't work because of the rectangle thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Balethal, the alpha mask per layer was what I was initially envisioning anyway. Way back when. I wanted to be able to apply it like I don't know if this will even be possible. I wanted to be able to apply tile sheet textures to doodads as well, so that I could add a little bit of grass onto a rock or something.
Yeah, I'll have to think about it. I do know that I will at least want color adjustments for the LEDs, obviously, because that's useful.
Yeah.
The finer grain detail stuff would be nice, but it's probably just for later.
Yeah, it's not something we need to worry about implementing right now anyway, since we're still doing serialization, definitions, and then after that it'll be like pathfinding, orders, AI, final steps for networking, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and actually programming the game too, like the races, the regencies and stuff.
You can just copy and paste GPTP and you're done.
I don't think that would work. I was tempted to copy paste guiding.
I wonder if you think it would be more performant and or beneficial in general to remake it from scratch using the lessons you learned from your time using the kiting stuff, or if it you think it would just be scalable if you just dragged and dropped it. But
I don't think I
we
would
need
just
orders for
get
that,
what I've
obviously.
had, but I would modify. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think I would do like totally different system. I think it was pretty good, but it just like the conditions were never like perfect. So for
Yeah,
that
well, it
we
was
would have
fighting
to.
lard code, so
Yeah, that's also true. So for example, where we had that cooldown fucking thing where I wasn't able to determine when the unit is actually shooting, and I had to do like some gimmick workarounds.
yeah.
That would be much easier here because I just have the full control. I'm like, I could surely go further with the mathematical calculations of like kiting time and stuff with full control of all I have.
I would still want the AI to kite mostly groups of units, but I don't
Yeah,
really know how
sure.
feasible that is. It's not going to feel very enjoyable at all if you have like lunatic AI that micromanages each individual unit. I mean, technically there is still counterplay to it, probably, but
I didn't
maybe it
get
would even be
smashed a
useful
lot of
to.
times by the kiting. Yeah, it was the individual thing was pretty strong in Brood War even. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Is like the individual units being kiting that way was pretty slapstick, and
Yeah, the problem with the group guiding stuff was first the calculations would never work for multiple unit types, and then also you would want the units to like sync in with their attacks, and that's also not very easy.
well, I think as long as you generally position units, because one thing we never had in Brood War was management of army positioning in the first place.
Yeah.
So you never had the idea of like taking a unit with 2 more range than this other unit and putting it behind the shorter ranged one. You never had that in Brood War. We will have that in the new engine. So the idea of being able to say, hey, I've got an Anthem and it's got 7 range. I'm going to stick it behind my Maverick with 5 range, and I'm going to, fire off a shot. Even though I'm not ready when the Maverick's ready because the Maverick has more attack speed, I'll still like stay roughly in the same position when the Maverick kites backwards so that I'm in a still in a safe spot. So I think stuff like that will be fine. You'll just be kiting to the tune of the unit that has the lower cooldown. There won't really be that much DPS loss, I don't think. There will be some in cases where it's like really like very specific cases where it's like this unit can attack 1.5 times slower than the other unit. So then it's like missing some of its timings or whatever. But I think for the most part, it would actually still be fine. You just have to have the armies positioned well first in the first place, which is like the same thing that you would do in the context of a human player positioning their armies. So I think it'll be fine. I think it'll actually solve itself once we have it in there, but we'll see.
Yeah. I do think that the range thing will just emerge from good kiting rules, and hopefully that's enough. But obviously, we want the AI to be smart. But yeah, we'll experiment and iterate for sure.
Yep.
Holy fuck, this is a huge file. And most of it is just zeros.
Did you get owned?
No, not really. It saved itself. I guess the units didn't save. It saved this correctly.
Well, you're gonna like that unit that I just made.
Yeah, it seems to have worked. The saving, at least.
Oh, nice. Now what happens when you load it?
It crashes.
Oh, okay.
But I knew that would happen, so it's not a thing I am really not really surprised. Guys, nothing really loaded. Wow. So yeah, we've got saving done. Loading is something I think I have to debug alone at some point because it's just so confusing. So there would
It could be
be
tedious or something.
yeah. Because I added a bunch of stuff and I don't really know which is the incorrect thing, and like it was a bunch of garbage. That the debug stuff I've got is a bunch of garbage, so yeah. I will look into it soon-ish. But I also like to look at the Sakura units. And then I will probably end the stream actually, because I did tell you, but not the stream. I have guests at home, so it is pretty annoying. Yeah. But yeah, I am interested in what you've got for the Sakura. So I will look at that now. Okay, so I see Reliquary. I guess you haven't uploaded much, but oh, there's the Sintra. Okay. So Reliquary is just production facility. Oh, it's interesting how you decided to. I don't know if you talked about it before, but it has way more shields than hit points, which is interesting, I think.
That's just a global trait for the Psychora, yeah.
Yeah. I guess it makes sense because they're the fourth dimension species, so.
Yeah, they're pretty fragile in this dimension, so they use the shields to supplement, basically.
Okay, and this is the unit you told me that is that I will like, right? Okay. So we have a very fast attack with 6 damage. I don't wonder if attack angle 90 isn't like huge. It does mean like you can shoot.
It's basically a right angle, but
Yeah.
starting at their nose, so.
But I guess if you rotate quickly, it doesn't really matter that much, so it's probably fine.
Yeah.
Okay, Sinter attacks copy any buffs from their target and grant them to the attacker. Okay. Is this addictive or just additive? Or is it just, oh, I will get what I... So...
Well, it's copying the
say...
buffs up from the target unit. So it's not replacing other buffs.
So let's say I have 2 stacks of, I don't know, Steam Pack, let's say. And the enemy unit has 3 stacks of Steam Pack. I would just get 3? The higher number?
I think you would get. I think it would be additive because you're copying the buffs that they have and adding them to whatever buffs you have.
Oh, so you'd always get 5?
You would get whatever the net number is, yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's true. And then this you distribute it between every unit. That's really interesting. Yeah. It is very specialistic, I guess.
It requires there to be buffs on the field, but this is a unit that will that's a tier 1 unit, so it'll scale pretty well with different enemy compositions. You'll want them for basically, it's like a vassal you have to work a bit harder to exploit, basically.
Imagine that strong Razorback strategy with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be funny.
All of the units so far are pretty high concept, so it might come out that I just move some of this stuff to higher tiers and then make the base units more simple, but...
I don't know if you... Oh, did you have something? No. I really like the Pavilion and the Dispute, of course. These are probably my 2 favorite units. I don't think I missed anything, did I?
Yeah, the only other thing I updated for Psychora besides the buildings was I added the... What do you call it? The shield restore note to the Autocourt. What is it?
This is what you would imagine observers would do in Brood War. Or like, I don't know. Since Terrans actually had Protoss had high tech, but now they
Yeah.
just detect lame.
Their version of high tech was having their detector be a cloaked unit.
Yeah, unbelievable. It's not like Terrans already did that too. And the only other permanently cloaked unit was a heretic unit or whatever.
Yep.
So
So it's not even like thematically consistent. Where permanent.
I guess the
cloak is,
arbiters had that, but it's a bit different.
yeah. Yeah. The whole thing was
Yeah.
just a mess for them, to be honest.
This is pretty cool. I don't really like this one. The line of sight reveal. I already told you that, I think, but I don't think that's more intuitive for sure. Like, if the unit can't see the other unit, why would it reveal it? Like, and this also makes
Yeah, just because it's in sight range. I mean, the inconsistent aspect of that is basically if there's like a building blocking vision, or some terrain object blocking vision, because I guess buildings probably won't block vision, but terrain objects blocking vision would equate to what? Like your unit is technically within the sight radius bubble, but it's not visible because the detector's behind a wall. It might be a bit hard to visualize that for players, but I still think it's valuable as like a positional use of terrain and stuff.
yeah, sure. I think the most interesting one for this behavior would be basically the ground units, because they have the most limited thing. So now you would not be, as opposed to giving a ground unit detection on top of something else, if it's a ground unit, because line of sight is obviously more limited for those. And
Yeah, I mean
also,
there will probably be some terrain objects that block air vision in
yeah.
some planes or something, like fighter air vision or something. So.
And also you could control the range of the detection just by changing the sight range, which is also really nice.
Yeah.
I don't think, was that actually done in Brew, or I don't remember.
I think it was, but most of the time the detectors were like, I think the science vessel and the upgraded observer always had the same sight range anyway, so it was effectively pretty identical.
Yeah, okay.
Can't believe a unit called Scout needs a sight range upgrade.
Yeah. And move speed too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you would think
You know, those things that are actually useful for scouting?
Yeah, like, it's a light unit, so why not make it cheap and fast and like...
I don't mind that Protoss units are generally more expensive because that's like, oh, they're more powerful, but calling the fucking unit a scout when it's like a gunboat is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. And we still had successful units that weren't very pricey, like Simulacrum. That did feel like it would belong to Protoss, but weren't very pricey on their own. So yeah, I think it will be it for this stream. Yeah, this is the second stream in a row that I don't really make it too long, but I guess we had daily ones where they were like 8 hours or something. So
yeah, so it all evens out someday. What
Yeah.
matters most is consistency. So
yeah, sure. And we've got saving, so that's really cool.
Yeah, you still checked something off the list.
I also refactored a bit of the tile stuff, which I needed for serialization, so that's also nice. And I've got the to-do list, which I guess I can update right now. Okay. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, I'm really excited for when we actually have maps being produced. I will try to rush it as fast as possible, so we can actually experience some content. And yeah, take care and see you guys later.
See ya.